Welcome to Professionals on Zoom, Getting Coffee, where meaningful conversations, inspiring professionals, and powerful ideas come together. Your host is Joseph Bonner, bringing you conversations designed to inform, inspire, and connect. Today, meet Camilla Nichols, author and CEO of Simple Things. Joining her is Darius D. McDonald, CEO and Certified Life Coach. We'll also hear from Cheryl and Fletcher, CEO of 1 in 6 Million Productions. And finally, Darnell and Verdell Osborne, with Verdell, founder and CEO of Pause and Power Institute, and Darnell, an educator, mentor, and community advocate. Professionals on Zoom, Getting Coffee. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Professionals on Zoom, Getting Coffee. I'm your host, actor, producer, and CEO and founder of the Global Human Rights Task Force, Joseph Bonner. Today we have an amazing panel of guests where we are going to be diving into topics that really professionals and entrepreneurs need to know and need to discuss, because we're the ones behind the brand. We're the voices behind the logos, and it's our voice that leads change. And so we're so delighted to have a wonderful panel from professionals from all across the board. I'd like to first start off with Cam Nichols. She is the founder and CEO of Simple Things. Welcome to the show, Cam. So happy to have you.
Thanks, Joseph. So glad to be here.
We next have Darius McDonald, CEO and Certified Life Coach. So glad you're here with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joseph. Glad to be here.
We now have the duo of Verdell Osborne and Darnell Osborne. Verdell is the founder and CEO of Pause and Power Institute, and her husband Darnell is an educator, mentor, and community advocate. We're so glad that you two were able to join us as a couple.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
We're excited.
And last but not least, we have Cheryl and Fletcher. She is the CEO and founder of 1 in 6 Million Productions, as well as a musical artist. Thank you for joining us today, Cheryl. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, let's jump into the discussion. Now that we got our niceties out of the way, recently an article came. Oh, it sounds like somebody's already having some audio issues back there. Somebody's phone ringing? What's going on?
That would be me. Sorry, as a caregiver, you never turn your phone off for your 79-year-old mother. And then when she thinks that you're busy, she's going to call.
Oh, yeah. I see you happy in the background. You got him on a mission too. Okay, he's doing something back there.
We're back.
I love it. Professionals being professionals. I love it. We're taking just a little break today so we can really talk about the issues I think that are on everyone's minds today. Recently, an article came out in Reuters as well as the Washington Journal that 0.6% profit is down in retail because consumers are not buying as much. Investments are up, ironically, but consumers are not spending as much. And I wanted to bring us all here together to kind of really discuss, why that is. What's going on? Why are consumers holding on to their disposable income when it seemingly with investments, it seems like the economy is doing fine? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think a lot of people are struggling day to day, Joseph, paying for groceries and with gas up. I mean, I think they've cut down on, luxuries or non-necessities. I think a lot of people really are having a hard time paying all their bills.
So even still now with, even though like investments are up, you're still saying that this does not reflect the truth of what most consumers are facing in the economy. Is that kind of what you're saying, Ken?
I think so. And I do think people are always going to want to invest. I mean, if you're smart, even if you're cutting back on basics, you still want to be saving. And the stock market's been doing great. So that makes sense to me. But, people aren't going out to eat as much. They're just not doing the normal consumerism thing that we normally do. I think that the average worker has really been impacted. I don't know. What do you guys think? But that's what I hear from people.
Yeah, Camilla, I agree. I think the average worker has been hit by that, and so you kind of shift your priorities in different areas. So you may decide versus eating out, you may decide to dine in at home to have some closeness with family. So you may do that. Will have shifted for different people for sure.
What I've heard is through my son, he has said straight up that a lot of people that have children nowadays, they're investing more in their kids, like college fund, like things that they're going to need when the time comes when they become of age. And I think too, because of the debt ratio as far as school loans and things are so expensive, a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, do I invest in a night out for dinner, or do I invest in my grandchildren or my child to make sure they have a better future? Because we all want to have a better future for our children compared to what we've had in life. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
And what about you, Darnell?
Well, I'll tell you, it's I believe it's hitting me and my family the hardest. It's just right now, me and my wife is not. Neither one of us are working, or with what you call jobs, and we doing day to day. Gas prices are high. Going out to stores and things like that. We just kind of came back together and just enjoying one another now, instead of just going out just having a good time. I find out that there is more to life than just spending money. So we just enjoy one another. So that's one of the things that we are gravitating to.
Joseph, just to add on to what Darnell is saying, you mentioned at the very beginning about our event that we had April 4th, the Seat at the Pause table, where I turned my backyard into a sanctuary for caregivers and burned out leaders to just take a pause. And what I'm finding out, and right at that time, at the beginning of April, we had this amazing event. It was videotaped. We sent it to the mayor, the city. I mean, it was just absolutely wonderful. And then at the end of April, we had water damage come into our home and flood our home. So it was almost as if, and then we were thrusted into the hotel life, in insurance claims and a whole nother, situation that we didn't plan for. And I think people in America are experiencing a lot of different things that they may not be talking about. And during this whole hotel life that we've met so many people that are sitting down and talking about just life and how hard and difficult things are. So they want to be able to go out, they want to be able to spend, but the money is just not there.
But I do have a question, right? But so in that too, I'm hearing that part too, but also there's a lot of convenience out here too, right? We have a lot of conveniences where you don't have to leave your home, where things are delivered. I'm in a pathway where things are delivered by drones. They just drop off, right? Versus people don't have to go out. And so I'm thinking it could be more about convenience, where we're not seeing people go into the stores, going out to retail, but there's about convenience for delivery for your home. Because it's almost like there's a bit of a shift from that retail, because we have different things of convenience at our homes too. Well, we have air fryers in the home, different ways, how conventional ovens, how we cook, how we eat is totally different than what it once was. So we have some areas of where things have kind of shifted too. So what are your thoughts on that?
You make actually an excellent point. I think my response. I just have a very unique perspective on just from my personal reasons why I don't go out and spend as much. I have found recently, actually quite consistently, unfortunately, that when I do go out and spend, like I don't have the satisfaction. It's like the customer service experience isn't great. You know what I mean? It's like the interactions that I have with the people who are working, it isn't a positive exchange. And so when I'm a very emotional individual. So like, unfortunately, I feel every single interaction that I have. And so the more I go out in the places that I go, I experience and I feel that they're just, a lot of people, they don't like their job. They don't want to be there. And if you don't want to be there, and if you're interacting not positive, that means I don't want to be there. So for me, it's emotionally and mentally,
the vibe.
stay home.
That's a good point.
Yes.
The vibe is not the same as 10 years ago. People are acting like when they serve you, like it's a chore.
Yeah.
And you kind of look at people like, you know, if you're not happy in this position,
why are you here?
Like if you're not happy, you know, why not take it to somebody or take it to some place where you can be happy? I have felt like a lot of people are completely stuck in their position, so that they feel like they can't even get anywhere in life. That's what I think.
I think that's true. I think, you know, some people have these jobs because it may be all they can get.
Yeah.
But, you know, but another thing is, malls used to be like the place when you were younger to go and hang out. You'd spend all afternoon, meet your friends, you take your family with your young kids. Malls are just deserted now. They're just deserted. And that's been a real cultural shift, I think. A lot of them are shutting down because people aren't going. And a lot of that may be post-COVID stuff. You know, people still, you know, don't want to go out to really crowded places, but the malls are just deserted. So you're not really going to get crowds there. But another interesting fact I would throw in is that I think this statistic is at least 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And the majority of Americans don't have $500 for an emergency expense if it came up. So I do think there's been a shift where things have gone up, but wages haven't. And getting back to, you know, what George had said and Darnell as well, you know, I think people are choosing things that don't give them material gratification, but go back to the family and friends. I have a daughter that's 35, and she has a group of friends, and they intentionally meet. They don't do things online. They go and have a board game night. They go and I'm so happy that they're meeting in person, but they're not spending a ton of money. They're getting together, spending time, talking. And I think that's a good shift, right?
Yes.
And I think the question now, and that I think especially for us who, you know, all of us who are in this field of making money and the consumer experience and connecting with our own clients and our prospect clients, the question is, well, how do we navigate through this shift in people's mindsets and spending habits so that our business isn't negatively impacted or not permanently negatively impacted? I think that's the question I think that we want to ask, and the question that we will be asking when we come back from these commercial breaks.
Check. Stepped off the boat and I saw you there. Salt in the breeze and the sun in your hair. Hibiscus tucked right behind your ear. Suddenly everything else is unclear. We're walking the shoreline, sand in our toes. Where this is going only God knows. Local rhythms and the coconut trees. Falling in love with the island breeze. Met an island girl and she changed the view. Ooh, every single moment felt brand new. Underneath the stars, the beach, I'm down, I'm feeling. My heart's in the clouds, yeah, I'm hitting the ceiling. Making memories with you till the morning come through. Yeah, so.
All right, and welcome back from the commercial break. I'm your host, Joseph Bonner, and we are the panel here for Professionals on Zoom Getting Coffee. Now, when we left off, we were talking about the shift in the economy. And the question we left off with is now, what do we as professionals need to do so as to make sure that our company and our business isn't negatively impacted by the decline in consumer purchases? Before we jump into the discussion, I want to share a little story. There was the founders of Airbnb, Brian, I think it's Cheswick, and Joe Gibbia. Now, when they were younger, they were kind of low on cash, strapped for cash, and so they said, you know what? Why don't we rent our air mattress out, for people who need a place to crash, and we can make a little extra cash, right? Mm-hmm. And from that little idea, came the idea of Airbnb. Now they had to, in order for them to get investors for it, they had to, adjust and change their business model numerous times before they were able to find something that investors were like, yeah, we can get behind this. But it started with that one little idea, and now it's this multi-million-dollar company, right? So when we take a look at experiences like that, and then also now we see the shift in consumer buying, what are you personally doing, or what do you feel professionals need to do to kind of adjust with the current market?
My thought. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say really quick. A word comes to mind that we heard a lot during COVID, and that was pivot. I think we have to be flexible as professionals. As we want consumers to come to our business. We don't want to lose our relationships. So I think that's the key, is keeping those relationships and reaching out to people to let them know that you are willing to pivot. What do they want from your business? So that's one thing I would add.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? Because whatever you are offering has to solve a problem.
That's right.
And to solve a problem in a way that is really what are you solving that problem to, and also that problem that you're solving has to have some kind of value. It has to have the value of that problem that you're solving that will then move some things in the right direction. Cheryl, what were you going to say?
Oh, thank you. I just think it has everything to do with the awareness of your business. And a lot of times, I've been there, done this, fall back and say, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to, with all this that's going on. Because we're so preoccupied with all the garbage in the world. That sometimes we kind of forget who we are. So what I have been doing is reorganizing what I've been doing in my life with the music and the industry of film is that, hey, now wait a minute, I'm going on the door knocking thing. I've been doing door knocking in the last 4 months where I will walk up to somebody's door and say, do you know who I am? And they're obviously going to say no, I have wrote and directed a film here. I would like for you to check it out. Either I give out the CD itself or I give out, the link to watch it, bringing the awareness back around of what I do. And then the music, I give out the link. Come on, pay attention. You can also create your own creativities just by awareness. You can bring it back around and wake people up. Because we've had way too much sleeping, in the industry. Everybody's out there taking a nap because they're just darn right tired of it all. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think too, retail is one thing. And I think services that, like the people on this panel offer real connection or helping people make connection or helping people reset. And I think there is a real need for that right now. People really want real connection and real relationships. And so I think there's a need for that that's increasing actually. So what's happening in retail, if we were selling t-shirts, that'd be one thing, but we're not. We're helping people stay connected, recenter, re-energize, and prioritize.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll also add, there are times that I go to the grocery store or go to a store to just reset. I look, I enjoy the moment. And I think, a lot of times we get hyped up when we were talking about spending and not having, really going back to those things. Lately I've been doing this whole thing of coming back to myself, because there was a movie that came out a long time ago, was The Things That We Lost in the Fire. And I just have thought about many times people go through situations in life, they're devastating, and they feel like they've lost themselves. So sometimes you have to come back to you. I really love what Cheryl said earlier about she literally moved to another place so she could write. Because the hustle and bustle of the city and whatever was going on, she came back to herself and the thing that really brought her that joy and peace. And sometimes we have to do that for ourselves. So shopping, of course I love shopping, but now I can't as much, but I'll still go to my favorite spot. And it is a antique mall, and I just watch people, look, enjoy myself. But we have to give ourselves that permission to say, it's okay for me to come back to me and enjoy me.
And I think that's the bigger picture as well. And I think what a lot of professionals are experiencing, when you hit these roadblocks, especially within regards to business and marketing goals and sales projections, and when you hit these roadblocks, it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, Verdell, and that's being able to pivot. And then you mentioned something too, Cheryl, where you mentioned I'm going knocking on doors. That's grassrooting it. That's what they used to do back in the days before there was internet.
Exactly.
And with music, they would show up to schools and high schools with the demo, and that's how we got.
Right.
Yeah.
So and kind of what you mentioned as well, by going if you can kind of go back to yourself, going kind of, I guess, reconnecting with yourself, maybe you'll be able to rediscover some of the things that you used to do in the past that work. That may, if you bring it around again, it may work again. Because the shift in people's mindsets is a lot different than it was even 15 years ago. And so as we're constantly having to learn how to pivot and how to adjust as markets change and shift, no matter what our profession is. And I think all of your comments really spoke well to that.
Well, like my husband Mark said, he said, Cheryl, have you not thought about, which, Mark's an excellent idea. He should have had like 1,000,001 ideas that he could sell. You know what I'm saying? He's like a sales guy. So he's my advocate. So he's like, hey, have you ever thought about maybe just like, getting like you do on sales, you get your list of people you've been connected with for 100, 1,000 years, and you start calling people. Say, hey, guess what I'm doing in life? Did you hear about my song? Have you seen my movie? And kind of spur that back up. And that's old fashioned. You're talking. That's right. You're literally connecting with people on a different level that they ain't used to no more, because guess what? We are all so driven to the way it is today. Everything's hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And not, hey, wait a minute, what was that? But so I even take my list and I start calling people. And then Mark's like, he goes, Cheryl, I know you're just so out there, I just go get it. And he's like, why don't you think about like getting out and going and knocking on doors? Take some of your CDs, maybe say, hey, if you'll listen, give me a feedback on it. And I get that feedback. And then, that just inspires me more to write more, be me more.
So I think if we examine what we're doing in our businesses, and kind of going back to what worked before or what's even currently working now, obviously we want to continue to do that and do that even more. But we're still left with a question, because the economy is changing, people are changing, the world is changing. So then, what do we as professionals in our specific profession, what do we need to do to change to meet the changes globally? We'll answer that question when we come back from this commercial break.
Right here with the make of time. The pressure is real and it cracks on the chest, but he sets a limit to every single test. Never a burden too heavy to bear. He handles the low while I handle the prayer. I don't need the cancers, don't need a degree to trust in the shadows what I cannot see. Like Simpson, I'm ready to stand at the stone. Up through the pillars, forgotten is wrong. Even the victim, it cost me my breath. I'm bringing the house down to fighting the debt. They're shaking my loyalty, breaking my stride. I'm throwing out peace while the road is capsized. It's bound to get colder, it's cost after wine. But they can't shake the anchor I've left in my mind. They look for a fracture, they look for a bend, but I'm standing solid right here to the end. Unshakable bond that you cannot divide. No matter the weather, I'm glued to his side. I'm ready to advance, but he tells me to pause.
All right, you guys, welcome back to Professionals on Zoom Getting Coffee. I'm your host, Joseph Bonner, and where we left off in our discussion was we're talking about what changes we as professionals have to make now that the world is changing, consumer buying is changing, everything's changing. So what changes do we have to make? And I think a good illustration to kind of jump this discussion off is if you think about a caterpillar. You know, a caterpillar spends its whole life as a caterpillar, eating and munching on leaves, and then it goes into this cocoon, and there it undergoes this amazing transformation to become a butterfly. Now, once it's the butterfly, right, it can never go back to being a caterpillar. That transformation is permanent, but it allows that butterfly to take on a new life. It can soar, it can now fly, it can, visit other butterflies. It's absolutely amazing what transformation does. And so I think right now we're in a state now where professionals across the board are having to transform the way they do business because business as usual isn't working anymore. So what kind of changes do you think we as professionals would have to make, especially now in 2026 with the changing consumer buying?
I think, I like, energy is either static or dynamic, right? If it's static, you're like not moving and dead. But if it's dynamic, you're moving and changing and evolving. And I think we have to be very cognizant of being in a dynamic state at all times, moving forward, tweaking, evaluating, but we never want to become just the same. We have to grow and evolve like the butterfly. I think that's part of our challenge and part of our process. And it improves not only ourselves, but the services we provide to our clients in doing so.
I would also say we as professionals need to become comfortable with being around people who are not like us or people that we're not familiar with and build those relationships. And Cheryl said something earlier that her husband is an idea generator. Well, that is me, and this is my partner in crime. He just sits and listens. So I'll give you this story. Recently, we did a little pivot in our business where we thought we were just going to give people a break. Well, we had two family members that have been wanting to go on a vacation, and they had pets. So they asked us, would we mind pet sitting? Now we're in Texas, they're in Ohio, and we were like, So we ended up finding out that Darnell has this gift with pets. I mean, he's like the pet whisperer. I'm serious. Yes. We walked in, they were barking and looking at us. By the time everybody left, the pets were on their back waiting for their, bottom to be scratched. And it was just an amazing situation. And I had no idea Darnell had this gift. So we turned our pause moment into an opportunity to not just pet sit, but also give people home sitting.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity for them to pause.
And you know what? Hey, I love the way you put that. But it's more about, because I'm a behavior interventionist. I've been working with troubled youth for years. Behaviors is the same with pets, same with humans. It's just people don't listen anymore. So I'll see people out in the street, and I will talk to, their kids are acting up. I say, hey, if you don't mind, can I talk to her for a second? They losing it. 5 minutes later, little kid is sitting there looking at me like this, going like, mouth open. I'm sitting there going like, are you okay? Now you see what you was doing? Your mama's trying to get you back together. And, they sit there. So instead of me being invited, I've been going out in the streets. And I help people. And, they ask me for my number, where you have a meeting place and stuff like that. I said, you know what? I love to get everybody together, because we having a time now, there's a lot of single parents and their children are just out of control. They live on their phone. They think that the phone is God. And I'm just trying to help, because we have 15 grandchildren. And, we just had a great grandson. So, it's always been about kids. Yes, it's always been about kids. But that's what, just like Joseph was saying, making that thing, that pivot back. Yes, I used to meet with a whole bunch of young people in a classroom. Now I'm in the streets talking to people. I don't care if it's homeless or whatever it is. If I can help you, this is about life. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're human.
And that's the connection.
This is 100% accurate if I've ever heard it, because like myself, evolving in this world today.
Yes.
If you don't make connection, if you don't go like children in the street playing basketball, you don't go out there and shoot that hoop,
exactly.
help that game, because they got game too.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Right? And so,
yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you got to get out there and just shake a little hand. Maybe do a little dance and kind of with me, I bring my music and I bring my skill. I ask kids, go up to kids and start talking to parents and evolving into the idea, what can I do next? What can I do next in my life? And it's like, if I can grab people's, not literally, but grab their thoughts, their minds, and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be making another movie in about a year. What's your name? I've been watching you. I've been watching you play basketball, or I've been watching you do this, that, and the other thing out there in the real world. And let's evolve into your life. What you can evolve into if you want to listen to music, and healthy music and not crazy music. And let's get you in a movie. Let's try to do some acting. Yeah. Why not evolve people?
Yes, like that.
Yeah.
I think they may not even know they have that skill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
That's right.
And I think what we're saying also is about, we're all communicating, but it also is about that connection. How are we connecting, right? We need to connecting, and people also want to be seen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the customer wants to know that they have value.
That's where I was going with that. What you're saying right there.
Yeah.
People want to be seen. When people found out I made a movie, they're like, well, how come I didn't get to know about that? I would have loved to try to be in your movie, like acting and things of that nature. And I said, you know what? Let's just talk about that. And it's all about talking. You ain't got talking. You ain't got nothing.
That speaks to we're going back to the word transformation again, right? Because we have to change and adjust the way we approach consumers now. And that requires, in order for us to change behavior, we first have to change the way we think about what we're doing, even currently.
Exactly.
So it's okay as a professional, it's okay to kind of, like some of you mentioned already, kind of going back to basics. Let me first reconnect with myself and see what I need, what's going on with me. And once I see for me mentally and emotionally, how can I now make that pivot and make that transformation so that I'm really meeting the consumers where they need me right now? Some of you were saying more connections. They desire more connection. They desire more personal connection. Okay, as a life coach or as a expert in X, Y, and Z, how can I connections and how can I make them more meaningful, right? And I think that's really what it boils down to. Now, Darius, I know you've been a life coach for over a decade. I mean, when you're helping people and helping businesses especially navigate the changes, what's some advice that you would typically give them if they're now at that stage where they need to make these transformations?
I get what do you call a life activator. So for me, it's about living by design and not default. And I often say when we're struggling in between of trying to figure something out, decide. And once you make the decision, the other stuff will follow, but you have to decide. You can change down the road, but make the decision so you can build on that. And once you decide, you can build around that decision to take that action step. No different than what we're talking about now. We have to decide that we're going to approach the customer differently. If it's no more than creating a better experience for the customer, so they know that they have value and how you make them feel is going to make them return, or that word of mouth will start to have a ripple effect for those customers to want to come back and return, or those returning customers make that experience higher than what it has been, because what has gotten to where you are now won't necessarily propel you forward if you don't shift or pivot what we're talking about earlier.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well said. Well stated. Well stated. And I think that as we're talking about shifting and pivoting, I think it also speaks to the reasons why we do what we do. Now, for those of us who have been in the game for a long time, or for those professionals out there who are just starting on their professional journeys, your question is, why are you doing what you're doing? Because that question, why, makes a huge difference. And we're going to talk about that when we come right back.
At 3 a.m. streets half asleep. I'm wide awake, counting the kicks I keep. Oh, it's a day running on present guess. A hoodie and coffee and names are the few still let pass. You and that duplex locked in your fear. Papers say I've said, I say I'm here. I'll be your 3 a.m. guardian, engine humming like a bell. I'll cross every border they draw. You will not disappear now. Hungry, scared, or hiding, I know what that feels like too. So I'll be everything I needed when nobody came through for me, for you. Buzzing your door, softer than dawn. Hey, you okay? You're shoving, just throw your shoes on. Backpack, have a sip, eyes on the floor. I see the questions, you don't ask anymore. They got the checklist, you got your scar.
All right, you guys, welcome back to Professionals on Zoom Getting Coffee. I'm your host, Joseph Bonner, and now let's get back into it. Now, we left you off with that question of why. Why do we do what we do, and why asking that question is so fundamentally important, especially as we're trying to reach out to potential and prospect clients, investors, etc. Now, there was this young boy about 6 years old who was out with his sister, his little sister, and there was this vicious dog that lunged to bite his sister. So the 6-year-old boy steps in and takes the bite and fights that dog, and he ends up having stitches all across his face. I mean, it was horrible. This was back in 2018. And when the little boy was asked, why he stepped in, his response was subsequently, my sister needed safety. And so I did what I had. And that was his motive. He risked his life because somebody that he loved and cared for, their life was in danger, and they needed him to step in at that moment. And so the question of why do we do what we do? Why are we in our profession? Why are we helping people? Why are we offering this service? what is our motive? And what are we willing to do to make sure that our objective is achieved despite how the economy is? What do you guys think?
I think it it's part of this human race, right? Thank God for the people that save and step in and do what they need to do. But I think there are all kinds of heroes, and for me personally, what I do with simple things, I listen a lot. When I'm in the store, I hear something random that somebody says, and it becomes an inspiration for an article that I write. And people want to be seen, but they also want to be heard. And I've just learned that by listening to people, it helps them maybe unpack, maybe think about something a different way, but lighten their burden. So, they walk away feeling a little better, maybe about themselves, a little lighter, a little more confident. And at the same time, it's given me something that writes about, because I think they're very archetypal or stereotypical themes, minor variations, but most people are wounded out there and hide it and go on with their lives. And we, just by being there for people, I think help make the world a better place. I think that's what we're all trying to do through all our mediums, right?
Well, my idea of it all is for myself. What gets me out there to do what I do, the reason why, my biggest impact has been knowing that there are so many people out there that have a story that needs to be told. And there are so many people out there that are emotionally attached to that story for whatever the reason. And I have also learned too that doing that gives them time. I mean, you all know that quality of time and quantity is a huge difference, right? So you want to give them that quality type of time. And we all know too that time is of essence with whatever we're doing in life. So when you give that person time, that's more than money. That's more than a dinner. You are sharing life with that person and you are building a story. So that's what drives me into going out and writing about what I've learned about somebody else. It's never about me. It's always about someone else. However, then the music part that I love doing best is knowing that music also stimulates the mind of those who have Alzheimer's, those who are mentally not there. It does wonderful things for people that are disabled and thought they couldn't dance anymore. So when I too give a lot of care to people too, and caregiving was the last 9 months of my life for my mother-in-law, who just recently passed away. So when I watched her, I learned a lot about that. I was like, oh, when I would play music, you could see her toes moving, see her hands moving, and her eyes moving. I'm like, I think I'm in the right profession for me. And what I can give back is never stopping, never stop.
Right.
Don't stop. Go, and you never stop.
Yeah, because your motive is in the right place, right? Your motive is
your
to
heart,
make an impact.
Your heart is in the right place.
Yeah, heart is the right way. It's not not just about money, or some are in business just for the money or just a transaction, versus showing up for the customer in a way that adds value to make the impact.
Yeah. Exactly. So imagine this world without someone like you, Darius, or imagine this world without a couple like you, Darnell and Verdell, where there's no one encouraging caregivers to take care of themselves, or there's no one like you, Cheryl, someone who's looking to tell those stories artistically in a way that truly has meaning and impact, or no one like you, Cam, who has lived and not only promoted the philosophy of living simply, but telling the stories of those individuals who really can't tell their own story. And so you stop doing what you're doing, if you stop reaching your clients, if you stop reaching your consumers, then this world becomes a much different place. If people like us stop, which is why we can't, right? Which is why we have to pivot. We have to transform. We have to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're reaching those consumers in a way that they understand why we're there, again, like that little boy, he said, somebody had to step in and save me.
Yeah,
I did
exactly.
it. So it's the same thing with you in your professions. You have to do this. Without you, this world becomes a much darker place. And I don't think any of you guys are going to let that happen on your watch. So
no.
Can I say something real quick before I forget this, Joseph? First of all, I think I can speak for everyone here, but because of you allowing us to be here today or in your life is a privilege, and also, I think we can all say, thank you from our hearts to yours.
Yes.
That we have had the opportunity to get to know you, and you got our stories out. I mean, it's like a win-win here. Hello.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. I don't know. I'm just saying it for everybody because I think I already know.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it's but with support from you, I mean, all of you here are supporters of the Bully Avengers and our initiatives. And that's one of the things I have to keep reminding myself of why I do what I do. It's we push this back into our human rights initiative globally, making sure that our key objectives are reached to all international organizations, the United Nations, presidential team, make sure that we're that voice for the voiceless there internationally. And that's been my number one goal from day one, when I first started this organization back in 2015. And so by your support of me, I mean, you allow our organization to continue to provide services for those who are disparate globally, and without what we're doing, there would be literally no one speaking out on these things. So I appreciate it. So the feeling is definitely mutual, for sure.
Joseph, I was gonna say something. I thought about this morning as I was preparing, just to get my head back in the game. And you tapped me on the shoulder and was like, it was almost as if you came by just in the nick of time, digitally to say, hey, I remember your story. Do you want to come and see some other people that are doing great things in the world? And I think the one thing that we can't forget is that we're people too. And so even though we have consumers, we're trying to share our story with people. How, I thought about this, how can we grow through what we go through? Because I think we all have been through something. The world is going through something, but having the perspective of how can I grow through this? How can I share my story, share my experience, share what I've gone through, not to downplay, anyone's story, but just to encourage or uplift someone else that may not know what to do in the situation that they're faced with. How can they grow through it? And I know we all have those, things that we think about, what am I supposed to take from this experience? And I think there are a lot of people in the world right now that are feeling either like, what can I do now? I lost my job. What do I do next? Sometimes people get caught in their identity of just having a job, but there's so many more things that you or I can contribute to the world that would make the world a better place. So I just had to say that.
Very well said. Appreciate that. And I'm proud of everyone here on this panel. It's such an honor to have you all here, especially speaking on subject that I feel that it's going through a lot of professionals' minds right now. There's a lot of professionals who feel exactly the way you're feeling about what's happening in the world and who are trying to pivot, who are trying to make those transformations. And so your personal stories and anecdotes and experiences are definitely exactly what they need. And now for those of you guys who are watching or listening at home, I want you guys to, go to the description of this show, wherever you happen to be watching or listening to this, and everyone's links, their professional links that you can connect with everybody here on LinkedIn. Their LinkedIn's will be in the description of the show. Their websites will be in the description of the show, contact information. So don't just let you connect with them on the show. You guys can connect with them individually and pick their brain, and you guys can support each other as we continue to be professionals on Zoom. getting coffee. You guys have anything you want to say before we end the show?
Man.
I don't think so. Just don't drink a lot of coffee.
Whatever you do, don't drink a lot of coffee before the show.
Hey, Joseph, there was something that I did want to say really quickly. You know, I thought about what do we want the audience to take from this moment, this parting moment. And I would say, you know, have some compassion on not just other people, but yourself as well. And include one thing that is so important in life, and we've done a lot of it on this show, and that's laughter. Don't forget to laugh, because laughter is medicine. And it really helps lighten the load no matter what you're going through. I know that even in our relationship, we laugh. We make it a point to laugh every day.
Sure do, every day.
So I would just, you know, say that and just keep that top of mind.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we are our brother's keeper. That's all I'm going to say. We are our brother's keeper. So
we need each other to survive. Yeah.
Absolutely. And those are amazing parting words. And with that being said, everyone, we want to thank you so much for supporting us and for tuning in to Professionals on Zoom Getting Coffee. You can catch the latest episodes on Spotify and iHeartRadio. Also, you can watch us on the JBN Television Network, wherever your channel happens to be in your local district. Definitely tune in. We appreciate all the love and support. And for those of you guys who would like to know more about the Bully Adventures and our initiatives there, again, you can visit thebullyadventure.com or reach out to us directly at info@josephbonner.com. Again, I'm your host, Joseph Bonner. So happy to have you guys on the show today. We appreciate you. We love you. And to those of you viewing at home and listening at home, take care of each other, because we're all we got.
Bye.
Camera off real quick. These mosquitoes, the reason why we take a commercial break is these mosquitoes are killing me. So give me one second.
Oh my gosh, okay.
You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, I've been in Nebraska 3 times for the Omaha, Nebraska, I think, right? Because I went to the Men's College World Series. That's baseball. I loved it each year.
Yeah.
I was saying if our city here, Grapevine, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas had a baby, it'd be Omaha, downtown Omaha.
I tell you, we lived in Lincoln for many years, Mark and myself, my husband. And I'm 66 and I'm not afraid to share that info, but I got tired of all the drama in Lincoln and shootings, and you know, you couldn't go anywhere without feeling like, am I able to talk to anybody?